treat. Today we have Ivor Steven with us, and I want to welcome you, Ivor.
Hello, Lisa. It's lovely to be here from Geelong in Australia. We're a long way away. Thank you.
A long way away. One of the places I always wanted to visit. Maybe I'll get there yet.
Yeah, it's well, Geelong's down the bottom end of Australia, down near Melbourne, So
Oh.
yeah, the only place further away is a little island called Tasmania. So it's a long way away. Yeah.
Now in Australia, it's kind of summer there, isn't it?
Oh, we're going into autumn now. It's
In the autumn.
yeah, it's just starting to get a bit cooler. Today will be a cool, I don't know, about 21, 22, which is about 70, mid 70s over there.
It's,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
And Ivor has written this book that's going to be coming out. Can you tell us about your book?
Wow, the book. Well, it's a book. It's a poetry book, of course, but it's kind of a story book. It's a poetry. I've divided it into chapters, and I started off with a bit of nature to get people in the feel of the book, and the second chapter is about my caring days. I had a wife that MS, serious MS, and I cared for her for 30 years. So the book is a bit of a story about her, and we go from there. And of course, as I developed my writing and over the years, we got into different topics, and we talked about everything and anything from flowers and birds and bees to a bit of mystery, fantasy, a few little. I don't think they're horror stories. You'd call them weird, a bit weird. I think the chapter's called not horror, but weird. It's chapter 9. So so I have a bit of fun here and there, and because I believe you've got to see the funny side of life. It's life's tough enough without getting down on top of yourself. Yeah.
Exactly.
And before we go too far, Lisa, I've got a big wave to Kerri, my what do you call it? Collaborator and illustrator. She lives over not far from you in Philadelphia, and or Ben Salem, which is just out of Philadelphia, and she's a very important part of this book project.
Yes.
Amazing girl. Okay, now got that done. Hi, Kerri.
Yeah, she did a beautiful, beautiful job on your book. Really
Yes,
beautiful cover on
yes,
that.
yes, yes. The illustrations inside the book she got 5. We got as the book fell and words fell and poems and chapters start. We had 5 empty pages, and Kerri was able to do these magnificent illustrations for me.
Wonderful.
Which kind of depicted the chapter that the illustration was representing, and she did an excellent job, But you'll have to buy the book to look at the pictures, okay?
There
The
you
drawing.
go. I got you
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
Now, what motivated you to write this book of poetry?
Kerri, it was
Oh,
her
really?
idea. Yeah, I was visiting Philadelphia. It's been a lifetime dream to go over to Philly and visit my relatives over there, and and we were sitting down at Kerri's place and having a chat around the kitchen table as you do, and she knew I wrote all these poems, and she was her idea for me to do the blogging. She insisted I start this blogging career and to get me poems out there, and she always said your poems are okay, and I said, oh, they're just poems, I write them for myself. But anyhow, she said get them out there. Anyhow, I was over there a couple of years ago, and I said, I've got a lot of poems together now, Lisa, and geez, well, why don't you write a book with a collection? And I can't do that, Kerri. And she said, of course you can. And I said, you do the book, and I'll do the drawing for you. And I said, okay, that's a deal. So it's been 2 years in the making, okay? over all this time. Okay, yeah. So it's been a project, and of course I've had lots of people encourage me through my blog sites to go and give it a go, and so on away I went. And of course, we had the COVID year, and kind of become a time to sit down and do the project. You know, you had plenty of time at home, Lisa. We were kind of
That's for
locked.
sure.
Yeah, we were locked inside and isolated, and rather than whittle my brain away doing nothing, I kind of started this book project, and been a process. Not a writer of books. I'm more of a poet. I do, although I shouldn't say that I'm not a writer of books. I do booklets called Tullawalla. They're also called Tullawalla, and they've all got a different name. And I've done 22 of those. And they're what would you say, about 40 to 45 poems on each booklet. And I kind of do PDF copies and hard copies and off my computer, and I sell them overseas and to people and local people and in groups, and I make money out of them. But all the money is donated to the MS Society here in Geelong.
Oh, that's lovely.
Because my wife suffered, if people read my story of it, 30 years of being in a wheelchair and with bad MS. So, yes. And of course, I'm pretty attached to that little niece called Kerri, because she's in a wheelchair. She's in a wheelchair suffering from SMA, the initial stands for spinal muscular dystrophy. It's a very serious complaint, but she handles herself very well. As did my wife Carol. She handled her 30 years of MS very graciously and with a big smile. Okay.
Yeah, wonderful. So were you kind of like her caregiver in some respects?
Yes, I was home caregiver, and I tried to work in between and didn't do that very successfully. But you do these things, and of course, people that pick up my book will understand that halfway through my caring career with Carol, I suffered a stroke. Well, it wasn't really good for me, but and she had to go away and I don't know, hospital care somewhere, and they had to try and get me better so she could come home again. So that was a process, and that's when I started kind of writing, because what did you say? Couldn't speak too well, couldn't sign my name, couldn't read too well, and my words were all jumbled. I like a typical stroke sufferer, I had trouble with that communication thing, and
Right.
so I rehabbed, and I started up doing what do you call crosswords,
Oh, okay.
reading the dictionary to get the crosswords done. They weren't very hard crosswords, because I'm probably nearly illiterate by then, after the stroke, and couldn't speak too well, and words were kind of jumbled, But anyhow, I taught myself through the dictionary. He was my best mate, Mr. Dictionary, and then about 3 or 6 months into we had people said, "You're going pretty well, Ivan." I said, "Why don't you try writing some words?" I said, "Your writing's terrible." Well, it doesn't matter if your writing's terrible. It's good practice for you. So I started to write down a few little lines, and because I couldn't write a story, but I wrote lines, 3 or 4 lines, then 4 or 5 lines, and I like to rhyme at the end for some reason, but it seemed to go okay for me. And I think my neurologist, my surgeon, said there's something in your brain that's been dead for years, and a stroke forces those dead parts to wake up. They have to start working again. Things that never worked before in your head. Well, I suppose that's a lot of my head these days, but but
Well,
yeah,
yeah, you're
that was the
determined.
start. So that was the start of just writing a few lines. The guy wrote for myself, and I used to show my wife Carol, because she'd have a good giggle. So I said, "Well, this is a good idea. It gives my wife a bit of a giggle." So so I started to go, and then you see your therapist and all these sort of things, and they said, "Well, why don't you join one of the local writing groups and things like that?" So I did that about, I don't know, 18, 19 years ago, and Geelong Writers Association, and just started up as a little boy in the corner, you know, with the dunce hat on, all that sort of stuff. But it was all good for me, you know. And I even got to a stage, you know, I could go along to Geelong, called Lowercase in Geelong, a lowercase poetry group, and they used to do live recitals, you know, and I even got to a stage that I could step up on the stage and recite a few poems. The words were a little bit sloppy, but people seem to enjoy my words, so that was okay, you know. They give me a bit more confidence to go on, you know, and do things, you know.
That's
And
wonderful.
yeah, so it was all a good. I suppose it's basically a rehab session for me. So poetry's been a rehab. So, and it's all progressed from there. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, and because originally I'm trained as a scientist. I went to school and did chemistry and maths and all that sort of stuff, and I'm an industrial chemist, you know, and worked at the local company here in Geelong, and then I became a plumber because that was one of those things that happened in life. And my dad was a plumber, so I had to go out and help him. He got a little bit sick and things like that, but so I stopped doing chemistry and become an apprentice plumber, and probably the owner and the worker while Dad was recovering. And it was another case of being thrown in at the deep end, Lisa. I seem to be able to, like, I think a lot of my poetry, I seem to be able to swim okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
so it's all been about living life and still looking at the good side of life, you know, even though I think we all have a story and we all have our difficulties. That's what life's all about, isn't it, Lisa? I'm not quite
Yeah,
sure.
it's true. That's
It's
true.
true, but I don't think you live life unless you've had to jump a few hurdles, you know, and you've fallen over a couple of hurdles on the way, you know.
Absolutely. But what would life be if we didn't have some struggles, right?
That's right. Well, you wouldn't have nothing to write about, would I, Lisa?
We wouldn't. No. No, we
No.
have no reading.
So, yeah, writing. So in the early days, I wrote about Carol and the struggles we were having, but I branched out, and of course she passed away. Well, this year will be 9 years, so she's been gone a while now. So I've kind of graduated, as life does, you know, into into these different areas, which I found fascinating to learn that I could do these sort of things. So that was another learning curve, you know.
Right. Right.
But do you want me to read a poem? It gives them a
I
bit of
do.
an.
I was just getting ready to ask you if you would like to share your
Well,
poetry.
I'll pick one out of the first chapter. The first chapter is Nature, Trees, and the Air We Breathe, it's called. And this one's called Potpourri. It's kind of a metaphorical poem, and it probably tells you about reflection of my life and life in general and nature itself. So I'll start with this one, Potpourri. I have a visiting bluebird standing in my potpourri bowl, bathing aromatic leaves, singing a reverie about her dying tree. And I join in with her plea. Trees are the air we breathe, feeding us food and seed, nourishing land and sea. Please let us grow and breed. And in the morning mist, beside the potpourri dish, there the bluebird is lying. I see her sad eyes crying. I hear her choking, but still singing. My fragile wings are not flying. Give me pure air to breathe. Give me clean seed in my feed. Before it's time to begin walking, find me those holy waters and I'll try swimming.
Nice. Very nice.
That's potpourri, yeah. I kind of tie nature and things together with thoughts
Yeah, I
and
like that.
life experiences, you know?
Mm-hmm. All comes together.
Yeah. That's kind of, I don't know how it happens, but it happens that way. So that was my first little poem. Yeah,
Okay.
so, I've got to turn the page, Lisa. Excuse me.
Okay.
Here we go. Oop. There. Do you want another one now, or we're going to keep
Yeah, go
chatting?
right ahead. Go
Yeah,
right
right
ahead.
ahead. You sure? Sure to be sure? Okay.
Yep.
Well, chapter 2. This is, of course, chapter 2 called My Empty Hands Are Full of Memory and Rhymes. It's probably my story with Carol and my life story a little bit. This one's a poem towards the end of that chapter. It's called Decades of Storms. And most of my poems have been published in, the online magazines like Spill Words and places like that, and Vita Brevis and all those sort of magazines. You know those ones. But I kind of latched onto the what do you call it? The American your place through their magazine scene, which is there's a lot of opportunities to get your poems out there. Yeah.
Right.
So and through writing, I think I've got into an American online scene through the Go Dog Go Cafe magazine or blog site. It's not huge, but it's a nice spot for writers to be in. I'm on a member of the baristas, they call them. We're the cafe baristas, and we kind of invite other people to write in, and then I kind of peruse their poems. But it's a fun little place to be. So that's Go Dog Go Cafe. And if people can blog that, and then it'll come. Just
Okay.
Go Dog Go Cafe, and yep.
Go. Okay.
Go Dog Go, yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of fun. Another area, somewhere fun for me to be. Okay, and the poem. I better start with this poem. I tend to ramble a little bit. Okay, I get sidetracked pretty easy.
It's okay.
I suppose I had a fair few years that I couldn't talk too much, so maybe I've broken out of that little shell a bit, Lisa. Okay. Anyhow, well, this one's called. It's a short poem. A lot of my poems are short. I think I have this concentration span for that amount of words. But yeah, I'll do this one. This is an interesting poem. It's called Decades of Storms. Over the decades, I've lived through many storms. Yesterday, I read about an Atlantic island storm. After midnight, I had a dream about my life's storms. At dawn, I shall open my door to the storms. I will then wait for my storms to vacate the dark and ask the morning sunlight, am I still the pilot? I kind of had a little bit of a twist.
You are.
I like to put a little twist at the end.
I like that little twist at the end.
My I got a couple of my pen friends on blog sites, and they kind of write to me. You write interesting poems, Ivor, and you seem to have a finale at the end. We always look forward to your little endings. And this just does something that happens for me naturally. It's not something I aim to do. It's just I used to say, well, I don't know, I did that. Yeah, it's funny. When you get into, I don't know whether it's a habit or it's part of your nature. Well, my life has been like a twist. Everything's got a twist at the end. It's but people's lives are like that. Don't we get to a stage and all of a sudden we have to turn a corner, don't we? The corner's there to go around. There's a corner. You got to go around the next corner, haven't we? We've always got to go around another corner soon. It's not a straight line, Lisa. I think that's the way to put it. It's not a straight line.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be plain sailing. We wouldn't need lighthouses, would we?
We wouldn't need lighthouses, and we'd probably be bored.
Yes, and the seas would be too calm. We end up getting seasick on the calm waters. It'd be terrible. And sunburnt at that.
And
Well,
sunburn.
yep. Well, maybe I'll turn a page. What do you think?
Okay.
I got me a little clipboard here. I'm nearly organised, you know. Not bad for us Aussies. We tend to be a bit casual. Okay. Here we go. Oh, there. This one from chapter 6. Oh, what's that one called? Air, Land, and Sea. Of course, I've travelled. I actually, a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, I went to China, Lisa. That was an interesting one of those tour things to China. It was an interesting trip. I don't think I'll be able to be going back for a while, but it was. But it was. I saw lots of old sites, and you know, it's a fascinating place, China, and in more ways than one. It's but it's kind of out of reach at the moment. But and I wrote this poem when I was. There's another bit to my story because a couple of years ago I had another stroke, and so February 2 years ago I was just emerging from hospital again and rehab again, going through the same old things, you know, and but I got well enough. They put me on the plane, and the whole idea was to get over well enough to go over because I already booked my ticket, you know, halfway through the year before to go to America, visit that Kerri. Hi, Kerri. And and visit Kerri. And while we're there, we'd sit around a table, and because she had some nieces and everything like that, and there'd be groups of kids, and I kind of wrote this poem while I was over there. It's called Dreams of the Heart. This has been published around in America. Probably Still Words, if I remember rightly. It's Dreams of the Heart. I cannot walk the continents like the intrepid Marco Polo, but my feet have felt the sands of time pass between my toes. I have not sailed the high seas like the courageous Christopher Columbus, but my body has bathed in an ocean full of kind hearts. I am yet to fly into space like the brave Neil Armstrong, but I've reached for the stars and touched my soul's dreams. How's that one?
Nice. Lovely. Lovely.
And that was written at the table there in Bensalem, where my cousin niece Kerri lives, and cousin Ken. Yeah, it was lovely to catch up with the Philadelphia family. There's a crew. There's a crew of them. There's oh, I don't know. There seems to be a million, but probably only about 30. Yeah. So I got to stay at different houses, and I stayed for 4 or 5 weeks. One of
Oh,
those.
nice.
It was one of those dreams come true, Lisa. You know,
Yes.
and that poem kind of touches my heart, and
Mhm.
kind of
It does.
reflects the journey of my life and where I've been and what I've done. Just 4 little stanzas, but I think it said everything I wanted to say. You know.
Yeah, and that very last line really summed it up nicely.
Yeah. Well, you know, you go and it's all about, you know, just every step, isn't it?
Mhm.
And because I had oh, I don't know, I had another little stroke after those 2 strokes, but they poured me on the plane, and I got to Philadelphia. Okay, and I actually ended up going to New York and stayed there a week first, and saw the Big Apple, and it's a pretty big apple, isn't it? Yeah, New York. So
It is.
I got lost a couple of times, and because I was by myself, and that was another. And
I got lost there
another,
too.
here I am, kind of. I was walking, but not very steadily, and I had a backpack on me. I looked like a tourist. I looked like a tourist from Australia. Although I got called Irish in a couple of places, so I didn't mind that. So I don't mind being called Irish. Okay. So I think it's probably some in Australia we've got a lot of Irish descendants, a bit like the eastern part of America. You know, it's all steeped
Mhm.
in those sorts of descendants. Yeah, yeah. So it was an interesting time to visit all
Yeah.
my relatives. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, yeah. Oh, another poem. What do you think, Lisa?
Okay, let's do it.
You sure? You sure?
Yep. Yep.
You haven't asked me. You haven't asked me too many questions.
No, you've been telling things quite well without me having to ask.
I do. I do. What do you call it? I'm a storyteller, I suppose. You could say that. I
You've
don't know
told me
whether I'm a.
quite a bit. Yeah, you've
Yeah,
told us quite a bit without me having to ask the question. So I
yeah.
love it.
Well, I'm probably more of a storyteller than what you say a poet. How's that? But I think
Oh,
that's the job. But I think that's the job of a poet, isn't it, to tell little
to
stories?
tell a whole
Yeah,
story.
yeah. I remember it being over in Ben Salem in the land room there, and all the grand nieces and the little kids were there, and I got a couple. They're in the book. I've got a trilogy. It's called My Dragon. The trilogy of mine. It's about. Excuse me. I don't have a drink, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a saga. It goes over three poems and starts with My Dragon coming out of the mire and all that sort of stuff, and he got a harpoon in his chest and he's dying. And the second chapter is I cut the harpoon out and he's in a bit of pain and it takes him a long time to recover. And the third chapter is My Dragon can eventually fly again. It's a bit of a kid's story for grown-ups, okay? For a kid's
Okay.
story for grown-ups.
It's store for grown-ups.
So I'd be there in the land room at Ben Salem and telling the story to the little kids sitting around watching this crazy man from Australia tell the story. And of course, I'd have all these little pantomime actions, and I'd have the kids there being the dragon and harpoons in their hearts and rolling around the floor. It's all a bit of fun. So, and the kids couldn't stop laughing for hours, so it was a bit of fun. Yeah. They probably went back to school and said, "We got this crazy grand uncle from Australia telling these crazy stories," but it's all right.
Yeah, I'm sure they have many good memories of it.
It was a fun time.
Yes,
Now, where's another poem? You ready for another poem?
I am.
Okay. I'll get it down off its little launching pad here. It's another kind of. Oh, this one's from the last chapter, chapter 10. And of course, it's Beyond the Blue Horizon. It's about dreams of the future, how things are going to go, and hopefully the world is going to be a better place later on, you know. But this one's called Tall Ships and Encore. Fellow passengers, stay calm. We're still afloat. I must moor this old sinking boat. Well then, alight. Walk the plank tonight. Venture ashore. Continue to explore. Search the empty stores. Find every closed door. Under creaky floors. Inside living pores. I'm ready for the chore. I need to know more. I need to discover the final score before I'm too old and poor. Let me go. Let me soar. Fly me to my encore.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it, it, it's all about hope and things to be better in the future, you know.
Hmm.
And it was written before or well before, because it was written a while ago. It's written before the COVID and all this stuff we had last year, but it kind of pertains to that very. Maybe I had some foresight, or I could see the crystal ball. Not quite sure,
Maybe
but
so.
it kind of reflects our COVID year very well, you know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
that's by sheer coincidence, Lisa.
There you
So
go.
yeah, maybe I should go into the world of fortune telling. Eh?
There you go. There would be another avenue to try, fortune telling.
Yes,
Yeah, you have to.
I could put a cap on and cover
Put a
the
cap
balls,
on. Yeah, there you
cover,
go.
and get myself a tent, set
There
up
you go.
outside the circus.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
See, that
I'm
would be
sure
your
people will
next
come.
venture in life is to do fortune
Yeah,
telling.
yeah. Well,
Well, I
life
hope
is a
that your book is does well. I think it's got a beautiful cover, and the poems that I have read from it are lovely.
Thank you, Lisa.
They really tell a story, and I really appreciate your coming on here today. Is there
Yeah, well,
anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to share?
oh, there's always lots to talk about, Lisa, but because there's 10 chapters, so I've only given people some snippets. So the
Hmm.
books, I think I sent you had a couple of nice reviews, and
Hmm.
that kind of the reviews about how varied my words are and how different my poems are, but how they all centre around kind of hope and compassion. There's all touches on all those subjects with the hope always on a lighter note at the end or a twist at the end of
Hmm.
of where of hope. I think
Absolutely.
the books have
Yes,
got a lot of the book's got a lot of not about the future, but about there's better times ahead for everybody.
hmm that's right.
There's always, as my little Kerri would say, Kerri, hi Kerri again. I know she's watching, but she would say, I think it's her catchcry is, "Don't let the world bring you down."
Hmm. That's right.
I might end on that note, Lisa. How's
I,
that?
I think that's a good note. Thank you so much, Ivor.
Thank you
It's
for
been a
having me,
pleasure.
Lisa. It's
Thank
been a bit
you.
of fun. Been a bit of
Yes.
fun.
You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.